host, sabrinasalvati.
All right. Happy Sunday, guys. Welcome. I hope you've had a good weekend so far. Welcome to Sab's podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. If you are new, I want to let you know that Sab's podcast is a part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. You can catch me there on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And you can catch me here Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. What is going on, guys? We have a very interesting show today. So much has happened since I saw you on Friday, believe it or not, but we have a lot to get into. I'm going to start off by giving shout outs to people in the chat. What is going on, guys? Shout out to Hannah G says, what Elon do to Matt? Oh, Hannah, you are going to find out. Greetings, Eric T. Red, who's a Sabby member, says Matt and Elon look very unhappy with each other in that thumbnail. Yes. I also have an update from Matt as well. What's going on? Dr. Nick Riviera said stabbed him in the back and in the front. So much has happened. Shout out to Larez says, Sabrina, Eric, Sabby fam. I put yes, because even though Elon sucks, didn't they sign a contract to release it on Twitter first? Smash the like, y'all. That's a good point, Larez. Go ahead and answer that poll question, you guys. I'll reveal the results at the end of the show. So far, from what I've seen, it's interesting. It's pretty close in reference to that poll. What's going on? Cicely says, hello, Sabby. Greetings. Rupert says, we live under corporate kings and are subject to their whims. This is neo-feudalism. Shout out to Steve says, hi, everyone. Greetings. Gamer says, hello. Gamer, you changed your picture. I wonder what that could be. It is April. What's going on? JS says a billionaire with billions worth of deep state contracts backstabbing someone. I'm not surprised. Yes. I think Elon has really revealed himself here. Shout out to Mastermind Hour says, hello, fam, and happy Easter. What's going on? Myra says, hi, everyone. What's up, Myra? Greetings, CBC voter says, happy Sunday, Sabby Sabs. Shout out to Saul says, woot, woo. Greetings, Ashura said, Elon is a skunk. I think that's a skunk there. Yeah, I think that's a skunk. Elon is a skunk. He's a something, all right. He is a something. Greetings, Joe says, hi, perfect people. What's going on? Old man Barker says, buddies. Shout out to Shinny Braskin said, had to tune in for the Nebraska news. Yes. A red state doing some progressive things. Imagine that. Greetings, Wary says, hey, everybody. Shout out to Aggravated Progressive. Hey, pals of mine. I don't know why I'm laughing today. I'm in a silly mood today. Silly mood. What's going on? Rick says, hey, Wary. Greetings. Pat says, peace. I don't know what that's a picture of. I was trying to see your picture. Looks like a document of sorts. What's going on? Tori sends fire and love. Greetings, Pachico, who's a Sabby member, says, yay, Sabby. Yay, Pachico. I just like to say your name like that. Shout out to Sebastian says, hey, okay, guys, we have a lot to talk about today. We have an eclectic mix of stories here, I would say, so to speak. Interesting times. Man, what are we talking about tonight? We are going to discuss Elon Musk smears and censors Matt Taibbi. Yes, 2 big whammies, not 1, 2. I have the receipts for that. We're going to get into that today. We're also going to discuss Pentagon leaks. If you have not heard this story, this is a doozy. And what does that have to do with Putin and Zelensky? We're also going to discuss Richard Wolff on China. So Richard Wolff is giving a candid thought here. And I think There's two clips I have for this, so there's two parts. So you're going to see one part while he explains why China is doing so well economically, and then he's also going to talk about why being anti-capitalist is becoming popular again. So we're going to get into that. And last but not least, Nebraska wins. Nebraska is doing some progressive things despite being a red state. Now, want to give a quick shout out to everyone who is a Sabby patron. Thank you guys so much for your support. You're keeping the lights on around here. Thank you so much, Sabby patrons. If you are interested in being a patron, I have 5 categories: members, Sabbies, Sabsters, Sabinators, and of course, Ultimate. All of their names are listed here. You can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen there on the ticker. Thank you guys. Big props and big ups. And I want to give a special shout out to new Sabby patrons. Over here, we call them newbies. Let's give it up for James Arkuzewski. Sorry, that must be Polish. James Arkuzewski and Eb Crash. Thank you guys so much, and welcome back. Welcome back. All right, we're going to kick this party off with these leaked documents that have been announced that have come from the Pentagon. And I'm not kidding. The Pentagon obviously has not been having a good time this year. It was just a month or two ago. They failed their audit. They couldn't tell people where the funds that they have been spending have gone to. It appears they can't keep track with their own spending. And now they have documents that have leaked. Let's go ahead and get into this story. And you'll see what this has to do with Zelensky and with Putin. Here we go.
The Department of Justice has a very serious and sensitive new investigation on its hands. The DOJ now looking into leaks of classified U.S. military documents that were shared on social media. Some of the materials were marked top secret. That's the highest level of classification. The leaked documents covered everything from U.S. support for Ukraine to key information about U.S. allies. CNN's Kylie Atwood joins us now. Kylie, what more are we learning? It sounds as though these documents are very sensitive.
Okay, I want to come in here for just a second. One of the things I do want to say, notice he said these documents have been leaked on social media. Some of the social media platforms these documents were leaked onto is Twitter and Telegram. Now, I did not see those documents leaked on Twitter, but I'm not on Twitter as much as some others are. I rarely go into Telegram, to be honest with you. But apparently enough people have seen them to raise a cause for concern. These apparently are top secret documents. I have an article here that's going to give a little bit more detail about what those documents did contain. But let's go on.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, Jim, some of these documents are marked top secret. That's the highest level of classification in the U.S. intelligence system. And so obviously, it's really concerning to U.S. officials who are now trying to go through these documents, understand, what exactly is in them. We still don't know the source of them. So these documents appeared on social media sites over the course of the last few weeks, and they gained some attention this week. The first documents that gained attention had to do with U.S. support for Ukraine war plans. And so U.S. officials were asked about those documents, and they said that they do appear to be legitimate U.S. documents. The other documents that we have just gone through in the last 24 hours or so that have to do with a widespread number of issues, related to China, related to Israel, related to the United Arab Emirates,
The article that I'm going to show you actually gives more detailed information than what she's talking about. But so far, let's do a rundown here. These documents apparently contain plans that the U.S. government had in reference to this war between Russia and Ukraine. Also, Israel and Palestine as well. Things that they really don't want the rest of us to know about. That's why it was classified as top secret. Now, here's something I want you to think about as well in reference to these documents. She just told you that the documents have been circulating on social media for a couple of weeks. Doesn't say how many weeks, but a couple usually means at least 2 weeks. This story just broke 1 day ago. So I believe this broke on Friday, probably when I was live, actually. They just found out about it 1 day ago. So if these documents have been circulating around on social media for at least 2 weeks, think about how many people have seen it by now. Let's go on.
Those are the documents that the Pentagon says that they are still reviewing at this time. And so we don't know if those are all legitimate documents, but when you talk to U.S. officials, they say that they look like they are. So this is an incredibly alarming situation. It's still unfolding in terms of what kind of damage assessment the U.S. government will make as a result of this leak.
And what are U.S. officials telling us about these documents, where they might have come from? I suppose there's plenty of speculation. Do they have any best guesses at this point, or is it still just too early on in this investigation?
Well, it is really early on, but I think it's interesting to look at the actual documents themselves that have appeared on social media, because what it looks like is a crinkled up piece of paper that someone took a picture of. And they have markings, as I said, of top secret on some of them. Some of them have markings of the office in the Pentagon that actually advises President Biden. So
that means that whoever leaked the information actually had the documents physically in their hand. If it was a crinkled up piece of paper, that's what that means. So it's someone who's either on the inside or had access to the inside in some way, shape, or form that was actually able to physically hold those documents and take a picture of them. So this is not something that someone was able to just, like, for example, I can't use the H word on here because YouTube doesn't like that. The people who are very computer savvy that have a way of breaking into different computer systems. So let's just say it wasn't that type of leak. It was the type of leak where someone obviously could physically hold the document, take a picture of it, and then send it out into the ether. That's right. Eric knows what I'm talking about. Thank you, Eric. You can't say it. You gotta be careful about saying that on YouTube. I know people that have been pulled because of that, but that's what this means, folks. Someone, somewhere on the inside.
These are as close as it gets to, the highest level of U.S. secrets. And when you talk to U.S. officials about these documents, obviously they still say that they're doing an overall assessment to see if any of the documents had been altered when they were put up on these social media sites. But they do say that they do look legitimate.
And do we think this was a hacking of some sort? Could it have been leaked out by U.S. intelligence partners, somebody inside the intelligence community, or inside the Defense Department, perhaps?
So, see, he's asking a question that I just gave you the answer to. If she said that it was a crinkled up piece of paper and it was a picture of it, whoever was holding the document has something to do with this in some way, shape, or form, because even if they weren't the one that put this on social media, they still took pictures of it, though, which you're also not supposed to do. So think about that. And why was it crinkled up? Why was the paper crinkled up? Let's go on.
Any sense of that?
Yeah, I mean, all of those are possibilities. As I said, we just don't know the source right now. But when it comes to U.S. intelligence, the United States shares intelligence with 4 other countries. Together, they are known as the Five Eyes partners. So it's the UK, Canada, the U.S., Australia, and New Zealand. So those are some of the countries that would have shared some of this highly classified U.S. information. But when you look at these documents, some of them have markings that indicate that there was information in them that wasn't shared with any of those partners, even those close U.S. partners. So what that indicates is that if they came all from the same source, we don't know if they did, but it appears that they were all kind of dropped in similar drops here, that would have come from someone or something that gained access to the U.S. intelligence system and not those of our partners. But of course, our partners are just as alarmed by this as U.S. officials are. They're doing their own damage assessments right now to try and figure out, if any information they shared with the U.S. is now leaked into the public eye. Jim?
So she mentioned those 4 countries, right? They really do not want to say on here that it was probably an inside job. They don't want to say that. So she mentioned those other 4 countries and said, well, it could have came from them, but at the same time, there was information shared in those documents that they didn't even know about. So maybe it's not them. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because the article that I'm about to show you is actually accusing another country. Now, as you just heard her say, right now, they do not know. But the New York Post, of all people, appears to know. They appear to know the answer to this. I want to show you different narratives of one story. I want to show you what CNN is saying. Again, neither one of them want to take responsibility and say, maybe it was actually someone here who did an inside job. They don't want to say that. The State Department wouldn't like that. But the other one is going to tell you specifically, oh, yes, let us tell you exactly who we think leaked this information. Let's go on.
All right, Kylie Atwood, thanks so much. Really appreciate the reporting. Thanks again. Let's get some perspective on this. We're joined now by retired Lieutenant General Ben Hodges, a former commander of U.S. Army Europe. He's also senior advisor at Human Rights First. General, great to see you. What's your take on these leaked intelligence documents? This does not happen very often. And so when it does happen, it has to be a big concern, not only for the U.S. intelligence community, but as Kylie was talking about a few moments ago, major U.S. allies, major U.S. partners.
Yeah, great reporting by Kylie. Obviously, this is very damaging. You never want your enemy to know what you know or how you got it. So this will reveal the depth of penetration and a lot of information that we had.
Pay attention to what he just said in reference to the word enemy. And I think it's interesting as well. He says you never want your enemy to know what we know, but they don't even want us to know what they know, right? Isn't that what Edward Snowden revealed? They didn't want us to know that they were spying on us, right? What about Julian Assange? What was that all about? They didn't want us to know that the U.S. government was committing war crimes. So it's not just about the U.S. government not wanting their enemy to know what they're doing. They don't even want the American people to know what they're doing. Let's just be real about that. There's a lot of secrets and there's a lot of information that they keep from us. And usually the way we find out about secretive information is because of a whistleblower. Whether it's a whistleblower from the EPA, whether it's a whistleblower from the CIA, from the NSA, from the FBI, that is usually how we find out that information. They do not tell us willingly, and they don't plan on telling us willingly.
And of course, one of the keys to good intelligence is being able to share with other allies, other organizations. And so this will damage some of the trust, that's necessary to have this good intelligence sharing.
The trust part is funny. I'm sorry. We don't trust you.
I expect the investigation will eventually sort of figure out, where did it come from or how did they get out? But it does once again remind us of the vulnerabilities we have and probably some holes in our systems. I can't count the number of times I had to go through online training about, preventing just this kind of thing. And so at the end of the day, it's usually about training and discipline.
Right, and these documents are similar to a batch of classified documents about Ukraine that have been circulating online in recent weeks, which U.S. officials on Friday morning confirmed to CNN to be authentic. Some of the documents, which include estimates of Russian casualties and a list of Western weapon systems available to Ukraine, were apparently.
Why would they want to hide that information? This piece that he mentions right here, remember, they said top secret classified documents. Explain to me why they would want to hide this particular information.
Have been circulating online in recent weeks, which U.S. officials on Friday morning confirmed to CNN to be authentic. Some of the documents, which include estimates of Russian casualties and.
Why would they want to hide the number of Russian casualties from us? Why would that be top secret information? Why wouldn't they want us to know that, right? Doesn't mainstream media report the number of casualties? Don't they tell you, oh, this many troops have died? Doesn't CNN tell you Ukraine is gaining ground, even though we know that's not true? Why wouldn't they want us to know the number of Russian casualties? See, this is CNN kind of telling on the U.S. government without, they're not really trying to tell on them, but they are telling on them in a sense. Why does that need to be a secret? Exactly. Thank you, Dr. Nick Riviera. Because they are low. That's why they don't want you to know. So, sorry, Mr. Man, but you gave that one away yourself.
List of Western weapon systems available to Ukraine were apparently posted on social media in March. Ukraine believes Russia is behind this purported leak. What do you think, General? I mean, could this jeopardize Ukrainian forces on the battlefield? How serious is it for what's happening in Ukraine?
This is why I wanted to play more of this video, because let's go back to the woman who was here before this former general sat down. The woman who was here just told you they have no way of knowing. Isn't that what she said? She said there are 4 other countries. It could have been one of them, but then she goes on to say, but there's information that was leaked that they didn't even know about. Then I told you they refused to even suggest the idea that maybe it was an inside job. They refused to say that. They refused to say it was one of us, right? But now he is telling you that it's believed that it's Russian. Hold on, let's go back. This is why I like to chime in between, because I want people to see how the story changes.
Some of the documents, which include estimates of Russian casualties and a list of Western weapon systems available to Ukraine, were apparently posted on social media in March. Ukraine believes Russia is behind this purported leak.
How do they know? How do they know? Right now, there is no evidence to prove that. There is no evidence to prove it right now. The young woman who was just here just told you they don't know. So if they don't know, and if they do not have evidence to prove that at this point in time, why would you even utter those words on air? Why? To make the American people think it's true, even though they don't know, so that the American people will continue to have animosity towards Russia. They don't know, but they're going to use phrases to put ideas into your head so that you'll think it's true, even though we don't know if it's true. This just reminds me of Russiagate all over again. Didn't they do that with Russiagate? Well, we don't know, but it looks like, no, if you don't know, if you don't have evidence, keep your mouth shut. Don't start pointing fingers at other people until you know for sure. He says, well, Ukraine thinks, who cares what they think? Do they have evidence?
What do you think, General? I mean, could this jeopardize Ukrainian forces on the battlefield? How serious is it for what's happening in Ukraine?
Well, the Ukrainians, of course, are super disciplined. They've always been reluctant to share information. We've always known more about Russian forces than we did Ukrainian forces. And so
There they go, making comparisons again, right? They are super disciplined.
So I think they will. They'll have done an assessment and figure out what they need to do. But they're also, the Ukrainians are agile enough to be able to turn this to advantage, perhaps. Having information does not, if you're not able to use it somehow, it's not necessarily going to be so damaging. So I think the Ukrainians will be smart enough to figure out how to address this. I don't see it as a terrible change for them. The biggest damage is on the trust that we have with our allies.
Why does Ukraine need to be the ones to address it when it was the Pentagon that the documents came from the Pentagon? So why does Ukraine need to be the ones to address it? Why can't the Pentagon address it? You just heard two different narratives in that one video, just that one. And you're going to hear another narrative. Listen to this one, because this is, oh boy, I tell you. This one really just dives right into it. Now, this is the New York Post. You have to take them with, usually I say a grain of salt, but with the New York Post, you have to take them with an entire salt shaker, okay? Just keep that in mind. Listen to this. Leaked Pentagon docs show how deep U.S. has compromised Russian intelligence. Let's go on. I wanted you to hear different versions of this. Maybe I can make it a little, or is this the one that does that? Yeah, because they have that panel. Sorry, guys. Leaked classified documents detailing U.S. national security secrets regarding Ukraine, China, and the Middle East reportedly show you just how deeply the Pentagon has infiltrated Russian intelligence services. Do you see this? Infiltrated Russian intelligence services. What's wrong with that statement? They don't know that to be true. They do not know. Let's continue. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. God, the documents which surfaced on Twitter, Telegram, message board 4chan, and elsewhere on Friday. Where is elsewhere? These are journalists. Where is elsewhere? Okay. Contain warnings to U.S. intelligence agencies ahead of Russian attacks in Ukraine, and even include details about specific intended targets. The New York Times reported. They also depict how the war has ravaged both sides in the conflict, illustrating a Russian military that is both compromised and depleted, and a Ukrainian army low on air defense ammunition. Okay. Some of this we already knew. Interesting. The classified documents also reportedly reveal U.S. efforts to spy on Ukraine's top political and military leaders, and the plan developed with NATO to help Ukraine launch a counterattack. Well, that cat's out the bag. Okay. One of the leaks include a secret plan to prepare and equip 9 brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine by the U.S. and NATO for the spring offensive. A Telegram account that posted documents said. The Justice Department opened a probe into the leaks in parallel to the Defense Department's investigation. And there's a picture of the Pentagon there. Pentagon spokeswoman Sabrina Singh said the Defense Department made a formal referral of the matter to the Justice Department. We have been in communication with the Department of Defense related to this matter and have begun an investigation. Separately, Ukrainian President Zelensky said that he met with senior military staff to discuss measures to prevent the leakage of information. A little too late for that, don't you think? Let's go on. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces are clinging to the key city of Bakhmut in the eastern Donbas region, where Moscow is threatening a major supply route, according to the British Ministry of Defense Friday. Russia has made further gains and has now highly likely advanced into the town center. Ukraine's key 0506 supply route to the west of the town is likely severely threatened. Notice how now they seem to be more willing to admit that Russia is making gains. Let's go on. Fighting also continued in other parts of the country, including in Advika, about 100 miles south of Bakhmut, where Russian forces bombed a chemical plant. This is coming from Pavlo, who's the head of the Donetsk Regional Military Administration, wrote on Telegram. We need to say something here about Telegram. I want people to be very much aware of this. Some people believe that you are protected more so on Telegram than you are on Twitter. Some people believe that your information is not going to be spied on if you're on Telegram instead of Twitter. And I'm here to let you know that documents, and this is an example of it, documents and information has also been leaked from Telegram as well. Never assume that any of these platforms are private, even if it says that they are. And then let's go on to this piece here. To minimize Ukrainian military losses, minimize threats to civilians who live in occupied territories, as well as the destruction of civilian infrastructure, Ukraine plans to give Russia a choice on how to leave Crimea. If they don't agree to leave voluntarily, Ukraine will continue to liberate its land by military means. But they just told you that Russia is gaining ground and Ukraine is losing ammunition. So just keep that in mind when you hear this. Meanwhile, some Western countries are urging China to help end Russia's war in Ukraine. French leader Emmanuel Macron urged Xi to broker that deal during his visit to Beijing this week. It's really interesting. I don't really know how Macron is going to push another leader of another country to do what he thinks that they should do. And he can't even control his own country right now. Right now, his own country's on fire, but he's going to be this powerful to influence another leader. That's really interesting. He goes on to say here, China previously released its own peace plan, but Western countries have criticized it with claims that it favors Russia. And I want to say something here. Even if it didn't favor Russia, Western countries would still criticize it because, again, if this war does end and there is peace, then that means there's no more profit. And that's what it really comes down to for war, at least for the US government and at least for NATO. It comes down to profit. Look at what has happened, people. Finland has joined NATO now. A year or two ago, Finland was rated the happiest people in the world. Did you guys know that? It goes back and forth from Finland and Iceland. They were the happiest people in the world. And then they joined NATO. Russia said that Russia said China has a very effective and commanding potential for mediation, but that peace talks have completely stalled. The situation with Ukraine is complex. So far, there are no prospects for a peaceful settlement. That's coming from Dmitry. So he adds that Russia had no choice but to continue with the war. But again, look at the way, if we go back up to the very top of the document, leaked Pentagon docs show how deep U.S. has compromised Russian intelligence. And again, they don't know that for sure. I'm sorry, but they're already doing it. They're already doing it. So as of right now, they don't really know who leaked that information. But I do know, and they have confirmed, It has been circulating on social media for at least a couple of weeks, which means a lot of people have probably seen it. And even if it has been removed from social media, I'm pretty sure people have taken screenshots. That's how it works, people. That's how it works. But go to some of the comments here. I'm going to continue to follow that story. And the reason why I say that is because you see, they're already trying to say, oh, it was probably Russians who got a hold of that information and circulated it. They're already saying that, and they have no evidence to prove that. When I tell you that vocabulary is important, the reason I continue to say that is because if you say that statement that they're saying over and over again, that they have reason to believe, and the American people hear that statement over and over again, it becomes more easily for people to believe it. Then they can always come back and say, well, we never said it was definite. We said we had reason to believe, but that can make people believe. So just keep that in mind. Interesting times we're in, ladies and gentlemen. Vicious says these are public servants. Classified documents should be unconstitutional. I agree. She's Black. This will probably result to more censorship to social media by the US government. I can see that happening as well. I can. Dr. Nick, the New York Post, the paper that misinformed us about Hunter Biden's laptop and spread Russian misinformation. They're still at it, Dr. Nick. Thank you for the super chat. Meteor Dreams, happiest people in the world exploiting Africa. Ouch. Meteor Dreams dropping the punches and the blows. Desert Mantis, wait, I just found a wrinkled piece of paper in my front right pocket. Desert Mantis. Careful, Desert Mantis. They could be watching you. All right, let's get into this next story here with Richard Wolff. Richard Wolff is bringing up something here that I think everyone needs to hear. Whether you're a Marxist, whether you believe in Marxism or not, whether you're anti-capitalist or not, I think this message is incredibly important. In this clip, there's two clips. Richard Wolff is going to explain to you his opinion about why China is doing so well. And there's another clip where he's going to explain to you why it is at a point that we are starting to see more and more how Marxism actually shapes politics. And this is going to lead into this statement from Richard Wolff, where he says Marxism and anti-capitalism is becoming popular again. Let's go ahead and get into that. We'll start off with this clip here. Economic update, the Marxist tradition, and we're going to dive pretty much right into the middle of this where he breaks this down for you, how it shapes society. If you haven't had a chance to do so, go ahead and smash that like button. Helps me out with the algo. Thank you very much.
If you go back far enough in the history of the human community, you will quickly discover that at some points way back when, human beings, like most other animals, spend most of their time, nearly all of their time, running around trying to survive, finding enough food, finding shelter, finding ways to keep their bodies warm in the cold. They had to work all the time to survive any of the time. As I said, most animals likewise have done and still do. But human beings have a brain. And one of the things that the brain does is something other animals have not yet, in most cases, been able to do. It's one of the distinguishing things about human beings. They try to figure out ways to be more effective in
Zach, come on, man. Come on. Professor Wolff wouldn't say that.
interacting with nature to produce the goods and services they need. So, for example, instead of spending 2 hours climbing up and down the apple tree to get the apples, an enterprising man, woman, at some point figured out that if you get a large stick and you hit the bottom of the apple tree, in an hour, you can collect those that fall down. You can collect as many as it used to take 2 hours to do. In the language of economics, human beings discovered how to become more productive. And it's very simple what that means. To get more output for the same amount of time of effort, or to get the same amount of output with less effort. Either way, the relationship between the effort, the labor human beings do, and the product, food, clothing, shelter, or whatever, changes over time. And the minute human beings become more productive, an opportunity opens up for them, Marx teaches us, that didn't exist before.
Yes, and there's different ways to be more productive, right? You can either become more productive using machines, computers, right? Or you can become more productive by exploiting the workers that you have, hiring more people and paying them less.
And here's how to express it. If you are more able to produce more in the same amount of time, or to use less time to produce the same amount as you did before, it becomes possible for you to have, here we go now, free time. You can call it leisure, you can call it whatever you want. But if you need an hour less than you used to produce what you need to survive, you can take an hour off and you'll survive. Because in one less hour of labor, you are still able to produce as much as you did before. So one way human beings can take advantage of rising productivity is with leisure. But there is, of course, a choice. You could decide not to have any leisure, to keep working just as long as you did, just as hard as you did before, but then you would get the benefit of more output, more than you need to survive, extra. You might even call that wealth. You can produce output you don't need to consume. Marx explains to us every society makes a decision if it's productive. And we have now thousands of years of growing productivity. So if you look at the United States today, I'd be surprised if 40% of our people are needed to produce what 100% of us consume. That's how productive we've become. 2% of our workers work on the land, but they produce enough food for 100% of us. So we have become productive. Now the question is, are we going to take it in the form of leisure, or are we going to take it in the form of wealth? And the answer is almost all societies do both. They take some leisure and they accumulate some wealth. Early in our history as a human species, we did that collectively. We all got together and we all had some time off and we all enjoyed some wealth that we could accumulate.
That was back during the time when the focus was more so on communities and building communities. We haven't been that way, at least not during my lifetime for the most part. And the focus, at least in this country, it's about the individual. It's about individualism. Some of my international students have explained this to me before too. When they come to the US, they're like, gee, when you come here, you really are on your own. I said, yes, you are. It's true. Where some of them are coming from countries like India, where people actually work together as a community. And at one point in time, it was like that in this country too. Things changed. What changed?
But in the last few thousands of years, we didn't do it collectively. We did it in three basic forms: slavery, feudalism, and capitalism. And
There you
what
go.
those three systems have in common, Marx taught us, is that they said, yeah, there'll be leisure, and yeah, there'll be wealth, but they will be collected for a very small proportion of the people.
Remember this, these three pieces, slavery, feudalism, and capitalism. Is that what he said, the last one? Slavery, feudalism, and I'm making sure I got that right. I think he said. I'm sorry. Okay, one more time, sorry.
And we all had some time off, and we all enjoyed some wealth that we could accumulate. But in the last few thousands of years, we didn't do it collectively. We did it in three basic forms: slavery, feudalism, and capitalism.
Yes, SFC. So if you hear people make phrases like, basically today we have a modern day form of slavery, that's what people are referring to. So if you think about how the country was formed, how the country actually started to grow, right? Slavery wasn't just about race. Slavery was also about capital. Let's be real. Slaves that were brought into the United States to make foods like rice, that was not something that people in the US knew how to do. They didn't know how to grow it the right way. They brought in Africans to South Carolina. That's why South Carolina is really known for rice. They brought them into Charleston, South Carolina to grow rice. It was a way to get a product. It was a way to get some type of wealth by exploiting the people who actually did the service. Now, eventually slavery was overruled, and eventually that went away. But then you also had feudalism, right? So you had the monarchs, you had the kings, you had the queens. You still have a royal family right now in the UK. And then you have capitalism. The point I think that Richard Wolff is trying to show you is that the past thousands of years that we've had, there has been some type of exploitation where the people, the majority or the bulk of the people are not reaping the rewards of the labor, but a handful of few are. Through all three of those systems. Let's go on.
And what those three systems have in common, Marx taught us, is that they said, yeah, there'll be leisure, and yeah, there'll be wealth, but they will be collected for a very small proportion of the people.
And now it's gotten to the point where that very small proportion are the billionaires. It's people like Elon Musk. It's people like Jeff Bezos. It's people like Bill Gates. And this type of wealth is incredibly dangerous. Now, I'm not here to say that people shouldn't be able to make some type of success for themselves. But let's be honest here. No one became a billionaire without exploiting someone along the way. That includes people like Elon Musk. We're going to get into him in a minute. That includes people like Elon Musk. No one. There's no way. That includes some of the multimillionaires, but even the multimillionaires don't even touch the billionaires. These are people that own capital. These are people that own a lot of wealth. These are people that own farm land. These are people who have taken, hello, Bill Gates, that have taken farmland from other communities. If they have control over the food, over the land, Bill Gates has also taken water from other people's towns. If they have control over all of that, that is a deep concern that you should have, because we all need food and water. We don't all need an iPhone. Sometimes when people talk about the billionaires, they focus in on the wrong things. We don't all need an iPhone. We don't all need an Amazon. We don't all need a Twitter account, Elon Musk. We don't all need a Tesla. But those are the obvious products that these billionaires are known for. You don't hear a lot of people talking about other purchases that they have made so that even when the climate catastrophe happens, people like Elon Musk and people like Jeff Bezos and people like Larry Fink, by the way, who owns BlackRock, those people will already have the resources that they need to survive. And it's all the people below them will be the ones that will be without. And how do they share those resources with us? By exploiting us. That's what it'll come to. Some of us, they may get rid of. Watch the movie Snowpiercer and you'll know what I'm talking about. Some of us, they may get rid of. Some of us, they may let stay. Some of us may end up giving way to the climate catastrophe, right? But even the ones who make it, if we want their water, which they now own, if we want their farmland, the food on their farmland, which Bill Gates owns a lot of the farmland in this country now, what are they going to make us do for that? Another version of slavery again? You think they're just going to give it to us? They don't want to give you anything right now. We have to pay close attention to this.
They, this small group, they'll get the leisure and they'll get the wealth. The rest of you, we don't care how productive you are. The more you produce, the more leisure and wealth for the minority that gets it. In slavery, the slaves keep working as hard as ever, whether they become more productive or not. Who gets more leisure and wealth? The masters. The masters are 2-3% of the population. The slaves, everybody else. In feudalism, the serfs do all the labor, productive or not. And whatever leisure and wealth can be accumulated is enjoyed by the lords. And now Marx's big achievement. He said in capitalism, it's the same. The workers work with more machines and therefore more productive, or fewer machines, it doesn't matter. The capitalists, the employers, will be pushing the workers to produce more and more, working as hard as ever. And the productivity, the gains of productivity will take the form of leisure for the employer class and wealth for the employer class.
And notice both go to the employer class, not the employee class. That piece is very important.
And that's how capitalism works, said Marx. It is an exploitative system, like slavery and feudalism. Different. You can't own anybody in capitalism. You don't swear loyalty to your employer the way a serf did to the Lord. There are differences, but not on everything. And on this question of using the growing productivity of the people for the greater leisure and wealth of a tiny minority, that they all have in common, and that is not sustainable. People in the end won't tolerate it. That's why we don't have slavery anymore. That's why we don't have feudalism anymore. And that's why Marx thought capitalism wouldn't be here with us that much longer either. And as far as he was concerned, that was good news.
Let's stop right here for a second and then we'll go to the second clip, because I really want everyone to hear that message that he just said, whether you agree with Marxism or not. There are issues with capitalism. One of the things he ended with there, he said that, no, we don't own people anymore. He's right. At least in this country, we don't own people anymore, or no one individual owns a person, but people are, I would say, shackled to certain systems in a sense. And I want to give the example with health insurance. Why do people stay at jobs that they hate? Why do people stay at jobs where they're exploited, where their bosses are really bad to them? Because they need the money. What if the money's bad? How many times have you heard people say they can't lose their job? They need the health insurance. I can't lose my job. I need the health insurance. They can't lose their job because they have 4 kids or 3 kids and their kids are on their health insurance plan. So if they lose their job, then their kids don't have health insurance. How many times? How many times you heard people make this statement? I would really like to quit my job and start my own business, but if I quit my job, there goes my health insurance. How many times you heard this? People in this country, individuals don't own another individual anymore in reference to like slavery, like it used to be. But we are shackled to systems in this country that prevent us from fully breaking free and being our true self. I want to say this again. I want people to really get this. We are shackled to certain systems in this country that prevent us from breaking free and being our true self. Whether it's a dead-end job that you hate, whether it's an under-resourced school that you can't escape. I didn't mean to rhyme there, sorry. Whether it's a neighborhood stricken with poverty that you can't get out of. Certain systems keep you where you are. And that in itself, that is what some people mean when they refer to a modern day form of slavery. Now, Richard Wolff is going to explain something else to you here as well. This is all a part of that same segment. He's going to talk about why being anti-capitalist and why a country like China is doing so well. Why is Marxism becoming popular again? Listen to what he says here. This is also important as well.
There are now two reasons why Marxism is being more and more returned to, revived, redeveloped, celebrated. Two big reasons. There are many, but two big ones. One, the most successful economic growth of the last 35 years has happened in the People's Republic of China. They have grown their economy from 2 to 3 times faster than the United States for 30 to 40 years. That has been the goal of most countries in the world, that is, to become unpoor, to become economically developed countries, to be, in short, as successful in economic growth as the People's Republic of China. And the folks who lead the People's Republic of China are members of the Communist Party, and their inspiration, they tell us, is from Marx. And they refer to their society as socialism with Chinese characteristics. Anyone in the world who wants to stop being in a poor country, which is where most of the people in the world live, looks to China and says, wow, there's a model. And that should surprise no one. Let me remind you of the great economist who started the discipline of economics, Adam Smith, a British professor of religion, as it happened. Adam Smith entitled his breaking book, the great book of his career, The Wealth of Nations. And the basic argument in that book was that capitalism is what made England richer than other countries at that time. That's exactly the argument why Marxism is of interest to people, because the People's Republic of China has a better growth record in the last 30 years than any other country in the world. Just as Adam Smith built on what happened in England, Marxists are building on what happened in China. And the second reason is that capitalism around the world is everywhere in trouble.
Everywhere, not just the United States. I used to echo this statement a lot, that Germany's economy is great, because I grew up, I spent part of my life growing up in Germany. So I used to say that all the time, like, Germany's economy is great. Germany's economy is doing well. Not right now. Not right now. Everyone's feeling it. Everyone who depends on some type of energy source from the Nord Stream 2 pipeline from Russia, who depends on some type of energy source here from the United States, like, everyone's feeling it.
Different kinds of trouble, different degrees of trouble. The British economy is a disaster story. The American economy, very mixed in many, many ways. Some people are getting very wealthy. Huge numbers of people are not. And that's a big problem of capitalism, among many others. And as people try to figure out why is capitalism exhibiting so many unattractive qualities, they are led back to the critical tradition. Who has been critical of capitalism? And the most developed, the most global, the most geniuses in many ways, contributing to any theoretical tradition, have been those who have built the Marxian tradition. So the criticism of capitalism takes people back to Marxism.
Very, very, very well put. Let's give Richard Wolff a round of applause there. That just is spot on. It's just spot on. I think what people have to understand is that, look, China is not perfect. There is no such thing as a perfect country. Every country has its flaws. But right now, if you were to look at the top 10 banks in the world, China has most of the banks in the top 5. Not even just the top 10, the top 5. The first time you see a bank appear from the United States is number 6. That's JP Morgan. Although I don't think they're doing too well right now. But anywho, you have to really pay attention to what is going on. What is it that China may have done differently economically that we didn't do here? Or maybe we didn't do well here in this country. Again, this is not to say that China is perfect. But somewhere along the way, they did something that we did not do. Could be something as small as, I don't know, choosing to outsource jobs in this country, choosing to remove manufacturing in this country, getting rid of Made in America. What happened to all those auto plants? What happened to all the factories that were in this country? In the Rust Belt, the factories in Chicago, Pittsburgh, Indiana. What happened to all that? Somebody along the way decided that they could actually make more money and have less workers by choosing to outsource those jobs, by choosing to get auto parts from other countries at a cheaper price. And just like that, those workers that were left were exploited, and the ones who were laid off or pushed out had to go look for work elsewhere. And as time went by, the manufacturing that we had in this country collapsed. Now, manufacturing has been coming back. But imagine how Detroit would be if it never left. Would they have had to close 40, 50 schools in Detroit? If Ford stayed in business and decided not to outsource and decided not to get parts from other countries, and it's not just parts from China, they also get parts from Mexico. A lot of people don't realize this. And now the US government wants to be really angry with China for doing well economically. But they weren't thinking about that. Bill Clinton, you weren't thinking about that when you did NAFTA. And now it's like you want to punch down on the country that said, okay, yeah, sure. Bring your jobs over here. Because now they're doing pretty well. Economics is a funny thing, but I don't think it's difficult. This goes all the way back to the beginning of civilization, where people made their own goods and products and they had their own services. Someone came along and said, I want to be greedy. I want to make more money. That's how we got here. That's how we got here. But always remember, though, even when the American people, the majority of the American people are struggling right now due to inflation, always remember the billionaires are doing just fine. Just remember that. And speaking of billionaires, that's going to take us into our next story. Oh, do I have some things to say? Let me go to some of the super chats here. If you haven't had a chance to do so, go ahead and smash that like button. We're going to dive into a story about a billionaire that's really going to tick you guys off. Thank you for the super chat, Roger Meadows. China has a national infrastructure public bank, Sabby. That is true. Thank you, Zach. Let's drop climate change for good. Too many of those billionaires get too aroused by it. I'd rather freak those peeps out by addressing pollution. It's an interesting thought. Thank you, DC. JP Morgan bailed out the U.S. federal government in the early 1900s. So the U.S. federal government is forever in debt to the company he founded. This is true. This is true. We talked about that on here. Good old JP Morgan. Thank you for the super chat, Mary Eben. Sorry, I don't know how to say Eben. Mary Ebony Collins. It's as if our government is at war with its own people. That is exactly what it feels like. And speaking of being at war, things are not going too well right now with Matt Taibbi and Elon Musk. Not going too well. Friday, we spoke about what was supposed to be an interview, the debate that Matt Taibbi had with Mehdi Hassan. And I also spoke about the recent restrictions that Elon Musk had put on Substack links on Twitter. Now, since then, today's only Sunday, since then, more has happened. I want to take you a step back. So for those of you who did not see that segment, you'll understand how we got here and why things aren't going too well between those two right now. It all started with this. Matt Taibbi tweeted, "Of all things I learned earlier today that Substack links were being blocked on this platform. When I asked why, I was told it's a dispute over the new Substack Notes platform." Let's remember how this all started. Matt went on to say, "Since sharing links to my articles is a primary reason I come to this platform, I was alarmed and asked what was going on. I was given the option of posting articles on Twitter instead. I'm obviously staying on Substack and will be moving to Substack Notes next week." So this is just to remind you what happened. Okay. So that happened. Now, why would he stay on Substack? I think it's pretty obvious. Like, he has a lot of followers on Substack. And for some of the independent journalists, like, this is how they make, they make a living that way. Some of them, like, people pay for Substack. There are free articles and then there's ones that you pay for. If I was him, I wouldn't leave Substack either. Some people didn't like him saying that. And they were just like, oh, the only reason you're here is to post your Substack link. No offense, but I told you guys this similar situation with myself. If I didn't have this show, I probably wouldn't be on Twitter at all. It's pretty negative over there. Have you been on Twitter? Sorry, just a reality. Now, moving along. There were restrictions put on Substack links on Twitter. We tested this out Friday. I want to show you, for those of you who didn't get a chance to see this, this is what was happening then. And then we're going to test it out again today. On Friday, Jill Stein posted a link. And by the way, it wasn't just this link. Jill Stein shared a Substack link. China spoiling it for U.S. weapon sales. That is not why what happened happened. Listen to this, just a reminder to show you what Elon changed in reference to Substack links, right? Now, you would think maybe they're suppressing this tweet because it says China spoiling it for U.S. weapon sales. Nope. It is because she is sharing a Substack article. Watch what happens when I like this tweet. Notice there's no likes on this tweet. You see 18 quotes. Watch this. Some actions on this tweet have been disabled by Twitter. See how my like just goes away? Let's try it again. Boop. Some actions on this tweet have been disabled by Twitter. That's why that tweet has no likes. A bunch of us, we were in a DM group. We practiced this earlier today. And I was like, yo, what the hell's happening to my likes? So you can't even like tweets that have the Substack article. This started today. That's Elon Musk. And this is a problem. I don't know what else they're going to take away in reference for your sharing abilities on Twitter. I don't know. But I want to tell you why. Another reason why I think this is a slap in the face. Let's pull Matt Taibbi back up real quick. Let's go on a little bit further because there's something else I did with this. Did I try to click? I thought I clicked on the article. Maybe not. I thought I did. I had also clicked on it and it said something else too. Oh, here we go. She is sharing a Substack article. Watch what happens when I like this tweet. Oh, that's the same one. No. I thought I did. I can't find it now. I'm sorry, guys. But anyway, we're going to check it again. We'll do it on here. We're going to do it. I did. I did it. I clicked on it again and I clicked on that article and that article gave me a flag. Oh, there it is. There it is. Watch this part. Let's see if I try to. Yep. Still can't like it. Well, let me go to the Substack. See what happens? When I click on the Substack link, warning, this link may be unsafe. Okay, that was the other thing that was happening on Friday. They were giving you this alert. And then the option was, it says back to previous page, ignore this warning and continue, but you couldn't continue from that page. So that was on Friday. So I wanted to show you guys that just so you could see, just in case you didn't get a chance to see that segment. Now, watch what happens now. Because see, people were complaining about this on Twitter. We're going back to that same tweet that Jill Stein had, okay? Here's the Substack article. Watch now. Notice there's likes now, right? I can like it now. Look at what it says now. Keep it up. The more tweets you like, you see that? Here, let's unlike it. Sorry, Jill. We're going to come back in. Okay. Keep it up. The more tweets you like, the better your timeline will be. See how the message changed? See, this is why it's good we have receipts. So now this happened today. Today, now you can go in and you can like it. Now, if I click on the article, now it takes me to the article. As you just saw, that did not happen on Friday. Yes, bad cookies. This is so revealing. Yeah. Aren't you guys glad I did that segment on Friday? Otherwise, it would just be my word versus Elon Musk. And Elon Musk is lying right now. Okay. Because there's more. Now, that being said, let me explain why that decision was made in the first place. Now, Indie Left News, shout out to Indie Left. He wrote an article about this. Follow him on Substack. We're not going to read the entire article because I want you to read his article. But I do want to highlight one thing. It says, this is a tough one to write. Let me go here. I love what Substack has been doing for the past 2 years. It's why we're here, and we advocate for the most content creators to take advantage of the power of Substack. We have to look objectively at why Twitter is now restricting access to people linking to their published Substack articles, even putting up a warning screen like below if the URL shortener is used. So I just showed you guys what that looks like. Indy said, I disagree with Twitter's decision personally and think censorship of a platform trying to compete with yours is childish and won't serve anyone in the long run. So here's the conclusion. This is the piece where if you didn't read this article, you may not be aware of this. This is making life difficult at the moment for both Twitter users who like to read Substack articles and Substack writers who use Twitter as a primary means to share their articles on social media. Conclusions. Substack is not totally without fault here. They've been going after Twitter for 6 months. Substack quietly declared war on Twitter in November. The problem isn't that Elon owns Twitter, it's that you don't. Elon Musk is an order taker. With his military contracts for SpaceX, Tesla, the Boring Co., provides Starlink for Ukraine and others, he has not had Twitter support going after the NAFRO troll bots. He listens to people in power at the intelligence and military that are afraid of accurate information exposing their lies and propaganda, a la Seymour Hersh and Nord Stream, or Glenn Greenwald and Hunter Biden's laptop. Elon Musk is not for free speech. He won't even comment on Julian Assange, for crying out loud. And shout out to Misty, because she's been trying to get him to say something about this forever. And there's just an example there where he won't comment about that. Free Assange now. Interesting that most of the writers Elon picked for the Twitter files were Substack publishers. Was it to try to extricate them from the platform or attempt to drive a wedge between them? Only Elon knows. So it says here, Twitter is not trying to compete with Substack. They bought Review, but are sunsetting it this year. But Substack has been going after Twitter, first launching Chat Now Notes. API changes to Twitter were looking like it could possibly cost Substack an additional $100K a year or more to keep the API open to embedded tweets. Not sure if this is an ongoing or relevant, but this part of the story is still developing. So I don't want to get too in the weeds on this because I want you to actually read the rest of that article for yourself, but that's to give you a little bit of detail about what's happening there. Now, here's the problem. Since Friday, I showed you that Elon Musk decided to unfollow Matt Taibbi on Twitter. Yeah. Now he's deciding to smear Matt Taibbi on Twitter and to censor him. Let's look at the smear first. This piece is very revealing. Now, this came from Ken Klippenstein. I have my opinions about Ken, but Ken said, Substack CEO says Musk claims are false. Well, what did he say? Elon said, Substack links were never blocked. Matt's statement is false. Didn't I just show you guys the test we did on Friday? Let's go on. 2, Substack was trying to download a massive portion of the Twitter database to bootstrap their Twitter clone, so their IP addresses is obviously untrusted. 3, here comes the smear. Turns out Matt was an employee of Substack. Is that true? Let's go on. Substack CEO decided to chime in here. None of this is true. 1, Substack links have been obviously severely throttled on Twitter. Anyone using the product can see this. 2, we have used the Twitter API for years to help writers. We believe we're in compliance with the terms, but if they have any specific concerns, we would love to know about them. We'd be happy to address any issues. And 3, which is probably the most important one, Matt Taibbi is not and has never been an employee of Substack. He writes a Substack and gets paid directly by his readers. That writers making money seems to be such a strange concept is telling. This is very frustrating. It's one thing to mess with Substack, but quite another to treat writers this way. So here's Elon Musk smearing Matt Taibbi on Twitter after everything, all the work that Matt Taibbi did with those Twitter files. Does Elon Musk not realize how Substack works? Hell, I'm on Substack. He went on to tell people he's an employee. And the problem, we come back out. That tweet, that smear, at that time, that tweet got 2,935 likes. It's probably more than that now. But that means at least 2,935 people believed what Elon Musk said. Let's all remember during that interview with Mehdi Hasan was trying to push Matt Taibbi to criticize Elon Musk, right? And Matt Taibbi said, I like Elon Musk. You know, he said, I like the guy. He went to bat for Elon Musk. And Elon Musk, in my opinion, and honestly, if Matt was here, I would tell him this as well. In my opinion, I think Elon Musk threw him under the bus. I told you guys this on Friday. These journalists were getting heavily attacked. They had to appear in front of Congress. The IRS showed up at Matt Taibbi's house the day he was at the congressional hearing. He was getting smeared repeatedly on Twitter. The attacks he had to, endure from Mehdi Hasan recently. And through all of it, Elon Musk just sat there. I didn't see Elon go to any of these. Why wasn't Mehdi Hasan interviewing Elon Musk? Why wasn't Elon Musk at those congressional hearings? So they did all this work for him, and I feel like he just let them fall right under the bus. He didn't even try to pull them out from under the bus. Once they were under the bus, he got on the bus and ran over them again. Now, Matt Taibbi has issued a statement here. If you follow his Substack, you can see this as well. So I get the emails, and it says a few clarifications, brief notes from vacation. So that's right. He is on vacation. This piece right here, he said, I've been caught up in a feud between companies and some things have been said. Just to clarify, I have never been a Substack employee. I have my own company, but I'm employed by subscribers. I have some loyalty to Substack, a company that always treated me well and whose original Substack Pro offer made it possible for a person with kids like me to leave mainstream journalism. So just to clarify, this is Matt Taibbi's own words. I have never been a Substack employee. When you think about all the independent journalists that are on Substack, I mean, like, they could say that about anybody. They could say that about anyone. Yes, some people on Substack have a lot of followers. I think I have almost 1,000, maybe almost 1,000. But I don't even write as much as they do. Like, I haven't written in like over a year. But the point is this. Those of you who follow us on Substack, you know how this works. There are free Substacks, there are paid Substacks, there are free articles, and there are some articles that are only available to paid members. You guys know this. My entire Substack is free. But some of you pay anyway. I don't even really know how you're doing that. I meant to ask people about that. Like, how are they doing that? But some of you choose to pay anyway. People can set it up the way that they want to, but the money comes from the people. The money doesn't come from Substack. So for Elon Musk to say he's a Substack employee, I'm just like, No, that was a smear. That was a smear. Now, let's get to the censorship part. Let's give a shout out to Decensored News, because this was actually the individual that brought this piece to my attention. Because it appears that Matt's tweets are now censored from search. Here's a video demonstration. And you know what? I love when people just give me a good video demonstration. I love a good video demonstration. Here we go. Oh, actually, this has music. Let me play it. So watch this. So he's on Matt Taibbi's page and he's copying his handle. Watch this. You see that? Let me pause. And typically that is how you would search for someone. You would copy like if you're testing this out, you would use their handle, from the Twitter. You see this? No results from Matt Taibbi, M Taibbi Twitter. Let's go on. There's more. Okay, so now he's under latest, Elon Musk. See, he's doing this with other accounts to see if it works. He or she, I should say he or she. I don't really know if it's a guy or a woman, but it says Decensored News right up here at the top. So they're using their own channel to test this out, and they use Elon Musk handle to test this as well. You see that? Now watch this. Matt Taibbi files, nothing. No results from M Taibbi files. Let's go on. So he tried it with Elon Musk. Elon Musk censorship comes up. Matt's M Taibbi censorship does not come up. So something happened there. Something happened there. Now, people fall in and out of, relationships with people all the time. One day people are friends, the next day they may not be buddies, and I totally get that. But that account wasn't the only one who pointed this out. It also appears that Matt Bender pointed this out as well. And by the way, Matt Bender was not a fan of Matt Taibbi doing this, by the way. He was not a fan of this. He was another one who was critical about it. But even he pointed out Matt Taibbi's Twitter files, tweets, haven't been deleted, but it appears Twitter is blocking users from searching for any and all of his posts, including his Twitter files tweets. So here's a screenshot from M Taibbi. Latest. So the same thing happened with him. Same thing happened, same search settings. And then here, it says, this is Leggett. Matt Taibbi claims all his Twitter files have been removed. And then here's a response here. It says, apparently all of my Twitter files have been removed from Twitter because I won't leave Substack. Let's try a test. Let's try a test. This is a mess, man. Let's see if he'll let me go back. Eric, can you? Oh, never mind. I see it. Let's see what happens. By the way, this is not my Twitter account. So just FYI, when you see me searching, I just wanted to clarify that. All right, let's try this one or two ways. Let's try this one first. And it says 191 tweets. Let's go to latest. Well, let's do be fair. Let's go to top first. So you see his account there at the top. Let's scroll down and see if there's any tweets from Matt. It's people posting. Okay, it's other people, right? Let's go back up to the top to be fair so people can see what I'm doing. Let's click on latest. So notice how I'm seeing other people's tweets? Other people's tweets that mention Matt Taibbi. Where are Matt Taibbi's tweets? Where? Let me try it with myself. Again, this isn't my account, so I'm not searching for myself with my own account. Let's see if I can find me. Ah, there's Notori. Hi, Notori. All the things I'm tagged in. There's me. All right, there's a tweet from me where I said live. We couldn't find this with Matt, though. Let's see what happens if we go to his page. People, let's go here. Let's scroll down. So I don't know if Matt has tweeted since April 7th or not, but we can't seem to see. Notice none of this stuff came up. When we checked latest, none of this came up. Let's try this. Wait, what about, let's go to replies. Okay, most of these are replies. Yeah. So you notice how we went to latest? None of his tweets came up. What do you guys think? You guys think this is a coincidence? I don't think this is a coincidence. By the way, this started happening when I first saw that tweet from that guy who made that video. It was after Elon Musk unfollowed Matt Taibbi. We showed that here on Friday. We went through the people that Elon follows, and I was like, oh, he doesn't follow Matt Taibbi anymore. He still follows Michael Schellenberger. Gene said Matt needs to be on vacation. Yeah, I think he is on vacation. But this is, I don't know, man. It's not a good look. I do feel like for Elon just to kick someone to the curb like that after they did all that freaking work for you, after they went through all those emails, flying back and forth from the East Coast to the West Coast to do this project. It's messed up. That's right. That's right. Bad cookies on his dime. That's right. It's really messed up. Let's see what the poll says. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about this? Because I asked you guys on the poll, given the recent events, should the Twitter files continue? Notice on Matt's profile, by the way, it doesn't say Twitter files anymore. Should the Twitter files continue? 59% of you said yes. 6% said no. 27% said yes, but not under Elon Musk. And 8% of you said not sure. 550, well, people are still voting, sorry. 557 votes. It's funny, you see the number change like in real time. Yeah. I don't know, man. We're going to talk about this on Call-In tonight because I don't know, man. I told you guys, what did I tell you guys on Friday? What did I tell you guys on Friday? I told you, I said, there's something very strange about the fact that Elon Musk hasn't stepped in at least once to like defend them. I haven't seen him on these interviews. I haven't seen him in Congress to have these hearings. And now he's throwing Matt Taibbi under the bus. Like, this is a hot mess. All right, I'm going to take a very quick break. I still have to do Nebraska. Sorry, Eric. I think Nebraska's on the first screen. Yeah. I got to do the Nebraska wins. Sorry, I almost forgot about that. We'll at least do 2 of them today. And if we don't get through, we'll do 2 on Tuesday. But we'll start with that. Okay. Nebraska. Ballot initiatives. We've been covering ballot initiative states on this show, telling you their wins that they had in November. And now we have reached Nebraska. If you haven't had a chance to do so, go ahead and like the stream, give it a big thumbs up. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. Okie dokes. Nebraska. Citizens of Nebraska, through direct means, meaning after a successful petition drive, the initiatives go straight to the ballot with no stops at the legislator, may initiate initiatives as either a state statute law or a constitutional amendment. In Nebraska, citizens also have the power to repeal legislation via veto referendum. The Nebraska unicameral legislator, meaning they don't have a Nebraska Senate, may also place measures on the ballot as legislatively referred constitutional amendments with a 3/5 majority vote. Cornhuskers! Single subject rule. In Nebraska, each proposed measure must address only one subject. We've talked about this before. That means you can't have a ballot measure that has this formula of if this, then that. And you can't have a ballot measure that has 2 different measures or 2 different subjects attached to one ballot measure. You can't do that in Nebraska. Let's go on here. I'm scrolled down. Number of signatures. In Nebraska, the number of required signatures is tied to the number of registered voters in the state as of the deadline for filing signatures. Therefore, petitioners cannot know the number of signatures required until signatures are submitted for verification. The following are requirements for the types of citizens-initiated measures in Nebraska. Initiated constitutional amendment, 10% of registered voters. Initiated state statute, 7% of registered voters, and veto referendum, 5% of registered voters for a referendum, and 10% to suspend the law until voters decide the law's fate. Let's get into the ballot measures for Nebraska. Actually, I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. I'm gonna do something different. I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. We're going to start because I know which one I want to start with first, actually. I know, I got to be difficult. Just do the damn ballot measure, Sabrina. All right. Some of you are like, what? This one I want to start with. Nebraska Initiative 433, Minimum Wage Increase Initiative. This was on the ballot in Nebraska as a citizen-initiated state statute, aka law, on November 8th, 2022. A yes vote supported this ballot initiative to incrementally increase the state's minimum wage from $9 to $15 by 2026 and annually adjust the minimum wage thereafter by the cost of living. That piece there is important. This passed by 58.66%. This is another example of a red state passing a progressive policy. This is what happens when you put the measures directly before the voter. It's not attached to a politician, therefore it's not attached to a political party, and the voters just vote for the question. That is direct democracy. Let's go on. How did the Initiative 433 change the minimum wage in Nebraska? Changes were designed to be made each year as follows: 1050 January 2023, so that's already happened. $12 January 2024, $13.50 2025, and $15 2026. By the way, this is similar to how we did it here in Massachusetts too, by the way. It changed each year to get to the 15. Moving along. Who supported this measure? State Senator Megan Hunt and Terrell McKinney. Unions, Nebraska AFL-CIO, Nebraska State Education Association, Service Employees International Union. Organizations, the ACLU of Nebraska, League of Women Voters of Lincoln and Lancaster, the NAACP Lincoln branch, and there's a couple more there. One of the arguments from Joey Adler, policy director at Open Sky Institute, arguing that the minimum wage should only be raised after the current inflationary outbreak is far in the past, is arguing that low-wage workers should have no serious protection against the damage to living standards being done. Well said. Who opposed it? State Senator Tom Brewer. Unions, Nebraska Grocery Industry Association. That's interesting considering that food costs so much more now. Organizations, Lincoln Independent Business Association was against that. One of the arguments made from Ainsley Fellers, executive director of the Nebraska Grocery Industry Association, a minimum wage mandate like this treats a company in Superior or a grocer in Superior, Osceola, Scottsbluff, or Baird like Lincoln and Omaha. Services and goods are going to have to go up too. Does it really though? It's always interesting to me. People say that. Does it really have to go up? Let's look at campaign finance spending for this measure. So over $3 million was spent to support it and over $51,000 to oppose it. Oftentimes, more money helps these measures pass. So you can see that there. What I think is really important for people to see is this piece here at the bottom, where Roger Meadows helps me out with this. He said, make sure to peep the highlights, and need I say more? This piece right here, this is fair market rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in Nebraska. So we want to talk about this, right? We did a whole study about this on this show when this report came out. In Nebraska, a household must earn $2,943 monthly or $35,319 annually, assuming a 40-hour work week, 52 weeks per year. This level of income translates into an hourly housing wage of $16.98 per hour. So even though they are raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, according to the fair market rent for Nebraska, in order to afford a 2-bedroom apartment, you still need to make $16.98 an hour. Right now, the minimum wage in Nebraska, or actually it's changed already now, but before this measure was passed, the minimum wage was $9 an hour. The average renter wage in Nebraska, $16.52 an hour. 2-bedroom housing wage is that $16.98. So the highlights here, most expensive areas. Yeah, Roger, FYI, I'm struggling to see this, bud. I am struggling. It is very hard to see it because it's so tiny. But anyway, most expensive areas, you have Dodge County. I think this is a little over $16. Same with Sioux City, a little over $16. Lincoln, a little bit over $17. Omaha, a little bit over, I think that's $18. It's hard to see. And then Stanton County, I think that's a little over $16. Anywho, the point that Roger's trying to show you, even the most expensive areas, they're just a little bit over that $15 an hour. So remember, the $16.98, that's an average. If you live in one of the cheaper areas, you might be all right. So that is interesting. That is interesting with Nebraska. And I want to do one more. I told you I was working my way from the bottom up. Is this the same? Oh, this is the DMV. I think I wanted to do the DMV one. Let me go up. Yes, this one. Nebraska Initiative 432, photo voter identification initiative. A yes vote supported amending the state's constitution to require valid photo identification in order to vote and authorize the state legislator to pass laws to specify the photo identification requirements. This measure passed by 65.45%. So this is a big one in reference to voter ID. So it goes on to say here, Citizens for Voter ID led the campaign in support of Initiative 432. State Senator Julie Slama, Republican National Committee woman Lydia Brosh, and former state senator and former Douglas County Republican chairwoman Nancy McCabe filed the ballot initiative. Who supported it? Governor Pete Ricketts, State Senators Robert Clements and Julie Slama, and Secretary of State Bob Evnen. Here's one of the arguments. What's clear to me after working on this issue as a state lawmaker is that Nebraskans want voter ID and special interests do not. The special interests may have influence in the Capitol, but the voters and Nebraska second house will have the last word. So remember, this did pass. And who was against it? Black Votes Matter, Civic Nebraska, Human Rights Campaign PAC, just a couple there. One of the arguments against it, the only thing we are certain these measures would do is to make it harder for eligible Nebraskans, especially young, low-income, rural, Black and brown, and senior Nebraskans, to freely and fairly cast a ballot. It's interesting. Over $2 million was spent to support it. Over $75,000 spent to oppose it. Once again, you will notice more money, the more money that was spent, the $2 million to support it, that passed. That's not uncommon where, again, like the more money that you put towards it, the more likely it is to pass. And then we'll just scroll down here because there was a commentary from Roger. The question now will be whether or not they will be closing down the number of sites as well as limiting the number of days of hours of operation days of the DMVs in mostly Black districts, forcing them to track across the state into jurisdictions where they may face hostility, just to show up, stretching those DMVs beyond capacity because it was only set up to serve the current population, taking a day off work just for the DMV to say you don't have all the paperwork, come back tomorrow. Plus, it doesn't help that Nebraska is a rural state with no public transportation infrastructure in place for people to travel outside their community. Or will the state match the number of hours and days open and provide more locations plus express photo ID centers that is proportionate to the population of where they live? Remains to be seen. All good thoughts, all good questions. I'll do the other two on Tuesday. I'm going to take a quick break and we will head on over to call in. Thank you for that, Roger. Yeah, it was hard to see the numbers. Stanton County, $18.85. Omaha Council Bluffs HMFA, $18.73. And Lincoln HMFA, $17.08. Thank you for that. Thanks. All right, Eric's going to pop in. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll come back and we'll do call in.
All right, I've popped in. Happy Sunday to one and all. This is where we give our Sabby a little break. Before we go into call in, which will be starting shortly. Let me see if I can bring that up here. Let me find that window, and we'll tell you about the call in, and we'll be posting that link onto the stream. Here we go. Oh, get on there. There we go. So the call in tonight is on Elon smears Matt Taibbi. We want to hear what you think about it. And so you can do call in on your browser. I just put the link for that in the chat if you want to go that way. You can do call in on your smartphone. You install the app, you search for Sabby Sabs, and you'll be in. And hello to one and all on this very nice Sunday, I hope, for everyone. So first I'm going to go through some of these chats and super chats. Thanks for the super chat, Mr. Doug. I just about lost hope for the United States. Yeah, I feel ya. From She's Black, this censorship is out of control. I agree with the previous super chat comment that the U.S. government is at war with us. Yeah, and I excuse me, I thought that was very, very much on point, and that basically this was kind of on this story with these top secret documents being released, and and you got these commentators on CNN and all this nonsense about will the secrets get out and our enemies will know. And I think one of the things we come to when you kind of reach this point on the left and you're kind of clued in is that you realize that the enemy, the real enemies to them, to the top 1% and their minions, the real enemy is us. The ones that, the people who work for a living, the ones they view as the peasants. And so all this secrecy and whatnot is to keep information from us, is what's really going on. And what we need is really a radical transparency. Really, 99.9% of these documents in top secret and all this stuff should just be public. It's BS. It's part of the information war. It's part of the propaganda and the control mechanism. And so whenever you hear anything about this, you just got to know it's about propaganda. It's about keeping control, keeping information, and keeping it always comes back to the money. It's about keeping the grift going, keeping the wealth flowing upward, and that's really what it all always comes back with. All right, from Zach, is AOC an Elon fangirl now? Old AOC seemed to have some pretty nice things to say about old Elon there. I think it's these Congress critters reveal themselves. Excuse me again. From Bad Cookies, does Taibbi still like the guy? Yeah, I remember in that interview there was that bit of where Mehdi Hassan is trying to get Taibbi to criticize Musk, and I don't think it was the best comment for Taibbi to say I like Musk, and I doubt he would say that again now. But the point in all this is that it's not the whole Twitter files is journalism. I feel like that's what gets lost in things is that it's a journalism story. The point is getting the information out. You have these 3-letter government agencies actively asking Twitter and other social media companies to take stuff down. I mean, that is a huge story. It doesn't matter where the source was or who it was or how the information got out there. If the information is true, then that's a huge story, and everything else is secondary. And anyone who is not framing it that way just doesn't get it, or is working for those same dollars. From Lee Lemon. Well, Elon Musk is just like the rest of the parasitic billionaires out there. Untrustworthy, self-involved, and willing to crush all dissent. Color me surprised. And from where Pilgrim, he threw Matt under the Tesla truck. Yeah. It's Yeah, but, Elon always seems very childish to me, and really throws tantrums. And most probably he's a billionaire. You can't get to be a billionaire without being a sociopathic monster, and so eventually that shows, especially when they're out and about as much as Elon is. From John T, this is modern thought control from the secret ministry of truthiness. Yeah, and one thing I like to say that propaganda is not going to manufacture itself. We got a few more super chats here. All right, from this, what's that say? Mike MD with funny letters. Free Matt Taibbi. From Sahand 9. Elon has always been disloyal and selfish, not shocked. Thanks for those super chats, and thanks for this one from Wermany. Thank you for your reporting. Keep up the great work. Thanks for that. And one more thing I wanted to say was that with the whole election ID thing, like there's this question, I don't see how you guys can have elections, without IDing yourselves. Well, elections have always run just fine, for years. They have the voter rolls, they have the registration, they have it on a list. You go up to the table, you say your name, you check it yourself off, and you vote. That's all you need. It runs just fine.
At least it works that way, at least in Massachusetts. And other places I've lived, it didn't work that way. But yeah.
But it's like there's really no effective way to do voter fraud, to really swing an election. Like that's not a thing. As far as like actual in-person voter fraud. So all these voter ID things, they're just voter suppression. And of course, it very much hits among minorities, more than anybody. But anyways, that's my bit. All right, she's on Colin.
All right, let's go ahead and head on over to Colin. So this is episode 96. Elon smears Matt Taibbi. Elon Musk is now smearing and censoring Matt Taibbi on Twitter. What are your thoughts? And do you guys think that the Twitter files should continue? I think it was great work. It revealed a lot, but don't let my opinion sway you. But I thought it was really great work, and it's really unfortunate that this is kind of the result of everything. And it sucks that things have kind of transpired this way. Like it really does. And, I feel sorry for Matt Taibbi and for any other journalists that have been involved in this project with the way that Elon Musk is behaving now. I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. These people have done a lot of work. They've traveled back and forth, and this is kind of how you respond. It's just, it's very strange to me. It's very odd. I don't know, man. I don't know. Oh, thank you, Dwayne. Sabby nailed it on Peter's show about this not being a democracy. Yeah, no, it's not. It really isn't. But we are going to head on over to call in. That link is pinned to the top of the chat. So I'll see you guys over there. If you're not there, happy Easter. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. And I will be back live on Tuesday night. So you know how we do this. Have a good night. Keep up the fight.